A homeless girl with nothing but scraps in her backpack saved the life of a billionaire doctor, not knowing this was the same woman who once helped her mother deliver safely years ago. But when the truth came out, what the doctor did next shocked the entire world. Was this fate giving them a second chance? Or a scandal waiting to explode? And how far would society go to tear a homeless child away from a billionaire's family? The rain fell in sheets over downtown Chicago, washing the alleys in silver and shadow. Amara Reed pulled her threadbare jacket tighter around her body and crouched near the stairwell of the parking garage. She had learned to keep to places where nobody looked twice at a girl who didn't belong. Hunger gnawed at her, but she pressed it down, focusing on the little bundle in her backpack, bandages, scraps of cloth, half an antiseptic bottle she'd found discarded by a clinic. To most, it was trash. To Amara, it was survival. That was when she heard the screech of tires and the heavy crunch of metal against concrete. The sound echoed through the garage, followed by silence so sharp it made her heart beat loud in her ears. She crept from the stairwell, bare feet slapping against damp pavement, and saw the sleek black sedan tilted against a column. The driver's side door hung open. A woman in a tailored coat stumbled out, collapsed hard onto the wet ground. Amara froze. She knew the face. Everyone in Chicago did. Dr. Sloan Mercer. Billionaire trauma surgeon. Hospital founder. A woman of power who lived in skyscrapers Amara had only ever stared up at. And yet, here she was, her lips blue, chest rising shallowly, blood running in a dark line from her forehead. For a breath, instinct screamed at Amara to run. Rich people's problems meant cops, and cops meant questions. But the training in her bones, her mother's voice teaching her in the shadows, pulled her forward. Check airway. Stop the bleeding. Keep them breathing. Amara knelt, rolled Sloan gently to her side, swept her fingers across her mouth to clear the saliva that threatened to choke her. She pressed a cloth from her backpack against the wound, firm and steady. Stay with me, Amara whispered, her voice trembling but sure. Don't quit on me. Sloan groaned faintly, eyes fluttering. Her gaze caught on Amara's wrist as she adjusted the compress. The frayed ribbon charm tied there gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights, pink, worn, but stubbornly intact. Sloane's pupils widened, recognition trying to surface through the haze. That ribbon, she slurred, before her eyes rolled back. Amara grabbed her phone, a prepaid burner she barely had minutes left on, and dialed 911. She rattled off the location with clipped precision: Level 2, West Entrance, female victim, unconscious but breathing, head trauma with bleeding. The dispatcher asked, "Are you trained?" Amara answered without hesitation, "Enough." The wail of sirens began to rise in the distance. Amara glanced around the garage. Soon, police, reporters, maybe even photographers would swarm. She couldn't afford that. Carefully, she eased Dr. Mercer onto her back, double-checked her pulse, then stood. Her hands shook, but her steps were quick, practiced. She melted back into the stairwell shadows, the sound of boots and shouted orders filling the garage. An EMT bent over Sloan, impressed. "Whoever worked on her saved her life," he muttered. Sloan, semi-conscious now, whispered just once before slipping back under. That ribbon. The next morning, the city was buzzing with news of Dr. Sloan Mercer's near-fatal collapse. Headlines screamed about her condition, reporters swarmed the hospital, and whispers floated through shelters and soup kitchens: a mysterious girl had saved the billionaire doctor before vanishing into the night. But Amara Reed didn't hear the news. She was too busy keeping a promise her mother had drilled into her: when you see someone weaker, you don't look away. Behind the peeling brick of a homeless shelter, a young mother clutched her coughing toddler. The boy wheezed, tiny chest heaving like a bellows, eyes wide with panic. Amara slipped into the shadows beside them. "Sit him upright," she said gently, touching the mother's arm. "Not flat, helps him breathe easier." The mother hesitated, wary of this ragged teen giving instructions. But desperation won. She adjusted her son, and his breaths came with less strain. Amara reached into her backpack, pulling out a battered thermos. "Warm water," she explained. "Let him sip." Slowly. She rubbed the boy's back in firm circles, humming a low tune, the same lullaby her mother used to sing when fevers raged in their one-room apartment. The child's crying softened. His breathing steadied. The mother stared in astonishment. "How did you?" Amara shrugged, pretending casual, though pride flickered in her chest. "My mom used to help a midwife. She taught me things. I just remember." The shelter worker, a grizzled man named Joe, poked his head out the back door. "Reed, you've got more sense than half the paramedics I've met," he said gruffly. He handed her a crumpled flyer. "First aid class downtown. Free. You should go. Who knows? Might be your ticket out of this mess." Amara smoothed the flyer, the paper soft from rain but still legible. The thought of sitting in a real class, learning from real instructors, tugged at something deep inside her. She folded it carefully and tucked it into her pocket, as if it were treasure. But then she caught her reflection in the shelter window, tangled hair, dirt-smudged skin, hollow cheeks. Who would let a girl like her into their world? She shoved the thought away, tightened the frayed ribbon around her wrist, and bent back to the boy. "You're gonna be okay, little man," she whispered. Behind her, Joe muttered under his breath, "That kid's got the heart of a doctor." The lullaby drifted through the alley, soft and steady. A sound that once kept Amara safe now soothed another child. But she didn't see the passerby who stopped at the corner, a camera phone in hand, capturing a few seconds of her voice and her careful hands. That small recording would soon travel farther than she could imagine. The steady beep of monitors pulled Dr. Sloan Mercer back into consciousness. The sterile white of the ICU ceiling blurred above her, and for a moment she thought she was still in that parking garage, drowning in rain and confusion. But the pain in her ribs reminded her, she was alive, patched up, watched over. She turned her head slightly and saw her personal assistant slumped in a chair, phone buzzing with unanswered calls. Flowers already crowded the room, boards of directors, governors, even former patients all sending their regards. Yet the only image in Sloane's mind wasn't bouquets or power, it was a girl's dirt-streaked face and a flash of pink ribbon. Her breath hitched. She closed her eyes, and the past swept over her like a tide. Years ago, before the fortune, before the empire of clinics, Sloane had been a young resident volunteering in a low-lit neighborhood clinic. It was storming that night too, thunder rattling the tin roof. The power cut out, plunging the ward into shadows lit only by kerosene lamps. They'd brought in a young woman, no older than 20, screaming in labor pains. "Nia Reed," someone whispered. "No family. No insurance. Just a terrified girl gripping Sloane's hand." "You're not alone," Sloane had promised. She worked by instinct, guiding the baby into the world by lamplight. The child's first cry pierced the storm, fragile yet defiant. Sloane wrapped her in a thin blanket, but Nia clutched her wrist, pleading, "Please, something to keep her safe." Sloane remembered fumbling in her pocket and pulling out a ribbon from her hair. She tied it around the edge of the blanket, a small charm in place of anything finer. "This will hold. She'll always know she mattered." Nia wept, pressing the baby close. Back in the hospital bed, tears stung Sloane's eyes as she stared at her bandaged hands. That baby, Nia's child, would be a teenager now. And in her fractured memory of the parking garage, the rescuer's wrist glowed under fluorescent lights with a frayed ribbon, aged by years but unmistakable. A nurse bustled in to check vitals. "Dr. Mercer, rest. You're very lucky someone found you." Sloane grabbed the nurse's wrist. "The girl who saved me. I need her name." "Find her." The nurse hesitated. "We only saw grainy security footage. Teenager, maybe 16. No ID. Sloane's jaw tightened. She dismissed the nurse, then reached for her assistant's tablet on the bedside table. She pulled up the footage herself. The image was blurry, but when the girl knelt beside her, tilting Sloane's head back, there it was, the ribbon flashing clear for 2 seconds. Sloane's chest constricted. It can't be. But what if it is? If she was right, fate had circled back with cruel precision. The life she once delivered in shadows might now have delivered her. Sloane leaned back against the pillows, mind racing. For the first time in years, she whispered a prayer. "Nia, is this your daughter?" The monitor beeped faster, matching her pulse.